what's up everyone? This is Dan the Movie Man with another big show for you today. We have Ant-Man, Fantastic Four, and The Gift. With all that said, let's start off with Ant-Man, starring Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Corey Stoll, Michael Pena, and Michael Douglas. Now, this is the 12th movie, I want to say, of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this time it's on Ant-Man, and it's about this man named Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, who gets out of prison and he's a burglar. He gets a deal he meets up with a scientist named Hank Pym, played by Michael Douglas, and he needs him. Hank Pym needs Scott Lang to help him out, use his suit, which was called the Ant-Man suit, to take on a business partner of his that has betrayed Hank Pym, and they have to stop him from causing world domination. So here is my review on this. Now, this was one of the first Marvel movies I was very skeptical on. Usually, I'm very fair about them. I go in with the minimal expectations, and when I heard about like some of the problems this movie was having, like they lost Edgar Wright, and they got the guy who directed Bring It On and Yes Man, but then I realized that he directed a few episodes of Mr. Show. So at first I was a little skeptical because of like its production issues. But then I saw the trailer and I was satisfied, and I went in and I have to say I was very much impressed. I mean, now it's not the greatest Marvel movie. I mean, this is Ant-Man we're talking about. You can't just, I'm not gonna have like too much expectations. Like I just recently saw, we just got done seeing Avengers Age of Ultron, and then with a smaller project like that, it's really hard to top that. But overall, as a film by itself, it stands out. But one of the things that does stand out from it that, now, I did like Avengers Age of Ultron more, but I will say what Ant-Man succeeds at, and that is that it's more of a personal story. And what I mean by that, it's not a superhero film or an action film where the world's at stake. It just doesn't. Now, in some movies, it does work, but like when you use that over and over and over again, it gets a little bit more repetitive, and it gets the audience saying, come on, we want more of, what else is that? Like, that's what made Iron Man great. That's what made the Wolverine great. And that's what makes Ant-Man great, is that, yeah, I may have said world domination, but then again, this is a little bit more of a personal story. And I went to go see this in 3D, and I will say 3D does have its benefits. It actually, the way how they incorporate the 3D in Ant-Man, the way how he shrinks and the atmosphere around him, how everything looks like, you know, a Stonewall background, and it's just him moving, that looks absolutely incredible. Because 3D is not about things just popping up at your face. And I may have brought this up for my Great Gatsby review, is that it's more about the atmospheric level of 3D, where you feel like you're in this room with these people, and you feel like you're eavesdropping on their lives and like what their mission is. But let's get to the actors. Paul Rudd, I thought was absolutely outstanding. When I first heard that he was going to be playing Ant-Man, I did not hesitate and think, really? I actually thought, all right, I am up for that, because how seriously can you take a character called Ant-Man? You need someone who is able to bring in that comedic tone, and he does, but he also takes things a lot more seriously than I expected, and it really does work for Paul Rudd. He's very charming in it. He's very funny. He's just an awesome character. Michael Douglas, I was wondering where he was. I mean, I haven't seen him do a movie in a while, but I can tell this was a role that he did not shoot in. Meaning that I didn't feel like he just did it for the paycheck. I felt like he did it because he wanted to be part of a movie. And he even stated that he's always wanted to be in a Marvel movie. And I'm glad that he finally did. Evangeline Lilly was outstanding, as well as Janet Pym, Hank Pym's daughter, aka the Wasp, who is not the Wasp in this movie, but maybe along the road we'll see her as Wasp. But she was the character who didn't take crap from anybody, and yeah, Corey Stoll, who's the villain in it, Darren Cross, aka Yellow Jacket, he was outstanding. He was on his A game. I just didn't think that Yellow Jacket was one of the most iconic villains. Like, probably the most iconic villains that Marvel has done were Ultron, Loki, Winter Soldier, and Ronan. Those were probably the best villains that they have done so far. And Marvel's known for either making great villains or just meh villains, or either they're really memorable or they're not memorable at all. But the one who absolutely stole the show was Michael Pena as Luis, who is Scott's friend in it. Everything he said, it was like everything that there were his flashbacks where he was telling a story. And at that moment, I thought, I bet Edgar Wright directed these scenes right here. Like, there were parts where I thought, that looks like it would be in an Edgar Wright film. And I guess the reason why they dropped Edgar Wright from the project was because they wanted more Marvel stuff in it. Like, they wanted it more connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he didn't, which is both good and bad. The good part being is, here's the thing. You don't want to overshadow the universe around it, because then you completely ignore the story and that you're just more focused on the world. But you want to keep it to a minimal, because you want to be invested in the story where you do at least acknowledge that other characters exist, like Captain America or Iron Man or Thor. Like, those characters, you could say they exist, but you don't have to shove it in. You know what I mean? But no, they actually do a really decent job. They kept that to a minimum, but they actually bring in, there's a really cool cameo in it from one of the now official Avengers after the events of Ultron. I won't say who, but when you do see Ant-Man, you'll know who I'm talking about. And there's also two post-credit scenes, I will say. One towards the middle, which is involved in Ant-Man, and then one at the very end, which is focused more on Captain America Civil War, I will say. Not to spoil anything, but after this, I just gotta say, Civil War, it's gonna be amazing. And Paul Rudd was so good in this that they're bringing him back for Captain America Civil War. And I'm very much looking forward to that. But overall, great Marvel film. I would say this one is probably as good as the first Iron Man movie. It's like right up there. So with all that said, I give this movie a 9 out of 10. Next up, Fantastic Four, starring Miles Teller, Kate Mara, Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Bell, and Toby Kebbell. Now, this is a reboot of Fantastic Four. This is, believe it or not, the fourth movie that Fox has done to make a Fantastic Four movie, where in this one, Reed Richards, played by Miles Teller, creates a machine that goes into an alternate dimension, and a few of them go with him, and all of a sudden they come back with powers. So here is my review on this. Every episode I've done, or the majority of them, I have brought up some kind of news about the Fantastic Four. And I said how excited I was. I was very much looking forward to it. I like the director and I like the cast, and I thought the trailer looked promising. And then I heard about all like the problems that this production was having, that there were certain things going on with the director, like conflicts with him and the crew, which I won't get too much into. And there were a bunch of reshoots that were going on. And I thought of it, this is either going to be the worst thing, this is going to be one of the biggest flops Fox has ever done, or it's going to be the greatest movie in the world. It can't be in the middle. And with that said, I was absolutely right. I mean, wow. Wow. Guys, this movie, it's bad. I mean, really, really bad. I was offended as a fan by this movie. Now, what I mean by that, probably wondering, Dan, how could you be offended like this? Because this could have been such a great movie, and they wasted an hour and 48 minutes of screen time of this pile of crap. It is really hard to comprehend what I'm saying about this, because I left the theater feeling depressed. And at first I heard about reviews saying how horrific it was. I'm like, it's one of those films, I gotta see it for myself. I can't believe I made that mistake. It's just, here's what doesn't work. The story is all over the place, or if you could call it a story. And I will say a positive thing about it. The cast, great casting choices, and they're good actors, but the movie is so boring. Like, hardly anything happens in it. The science doesn't make any sense. Dr. Doom, the villain, is a joke in it. The characters are very one-dimensional. They're incredibly bland. Especially the one who I was looking forward to was Michael B. Jordan. I thought, oh, this is going to be exciting, but he was boring. He was bland. He hardly smiled. And this is Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, who's supposed to be like the hothead of the group. He's supposed to be this light-hearted character. And you know it's a problem when the two previous movies before were a lot more successful. That's a big issue. Oh my goodness. It's like, imagine Batman and Robin, but not funny. Yeah, that bad. Guys, I really don't want to talk more about this movie. It's just, it felt like the first hour of the movie started off kind of solid, and then just takes a hard left turn where the studio just completely takes over and just butchers it. It feels like the first hour was directed by someone who was mediocre, was trying something, and then the last 40 minutes, they completely destroy it. It felt like it was directed by someone else. And there were rumors, like, the rumor I heard was that the director showed up drunk and was like destroying sets. And after seeing this movie, I could definitely believe that happened. And you could definitely tell about the reshoots that happened because there are moments where Sue Storm, played by Kate Mara, where her hair goes from brownish blonde to dirty blonde. Like, people may say, well, maybe it's the lighting. No, it is not the lighting. It is way too noticeable. And I feel bad for these guys. I feel like these are all great actors. And I just hope that this movie does not affect their career. I mean, I'm still looking forward to Creed starring Michael B. Jordan, and I'm looking forward to whatever these, and I'm looking forward to Warcraft with Toby Kebbell, but I don't know what else to expect. So, I'm just going to end it with all that in mind. The final verdict for Fantastic Four is a 2 out of 10. All right, let's get to the next one. Next up is The Gift, starring Jason Bateman, Rebecca Hall, and Joel Edgerton. Now, this movie was written and directed by Joel Edgerton. This is his directorial debut, and it's about a newlywed couple played by Jason, did I say Statham or Segel? Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall, and they move into a new house, and Jason Bateman bumps into one of his acquaintances from high school named Gordon, played by Joel Edgerton, and they start having dinner. He keeps bringing gifts over, and then he starts to get a little bit uncomfortable. He's like one of those guys who like butts into everyone's business. Like he doesn't understand personal space, where it's like, okay, buddy, you gotta go. And then things start raveling around. So here is my review on this. This is a really well-made thriller, and for a first-time director, I'm really impressed with Joel Edgerton, and for a writer as well. He's very talented. I really want to see him do a lot more things afterwards. It's not a violent movie, but there are moments where that feeling like you're being watched and you're just waiting for someone to like jump out or someone startle you. That's what this whole movie feels like. You're actually on the edge of your seat. It's not violent. It's just a really creepy movie. It's a very uncomfortable movie, but uncomfortable in the way on like how extravagant it is. Jason Bateman. Now the thing about Jason Bateman, I always saw him as the everyman. I always saw him playing himself in every movie because I'm usually used to seeing him do comedy. However, this was the first time I've ever seen Jason Bateman lost in a role. And I'm happy to say that with confidence. I really enjoyed Jason Bateman in this. Rebecca Hall is great as well. She's incredible at hiding her British accent. Joel Edgerton, I always saw Joel Edgerton, again, as another everyman. I thought him as like this hunky actor, but I never thought he could play a really good creep. Whenever he's coming to see them, he just gave me an incredibly uncomfortable feel. And also, it's one of those movies where you're like, I know I like this movie, but I need to think about it. It's one of those movies you think about it more and more, and the more you think about it, the better it is. Now, it's not for everybody, but it is but when it is for somebody, if they're into that kind of genre where it's a thriller or a psychological one, then it's going to hit them. It's probably going to be one of their favorites. I would say this is probably one of the best movies of the year by far. And it has one of those endings where it'll leave you questioning. The last frame is a huge, oh crap moment. But then you keep thinking about it more well, maybe this did happen, or maybe it didn't happen. I really need to think about that. It's an incredible thinking movie. It really is. And like the moral of the story is don't be a jerk to people in high school, because like as you continue to think that Joel Edgerton is the weirdo, the bad guy in this, then you start knowing about who Jason Bateman's character is and think maybe he's got some skeletons in his closet as well. And yeah, I mean, I don't have anything more to say. Otherwise, if it's still in theaters, go and see it. If it's on demand, watch it. If it's out on DVD, buy it. With all that said, I give this movie a 9.5 out of 10. And it left the taste of Fantastic Four out of my mouth after I saw it. I was like, you know what? I need to see a good movie after seeing that pile of crap. So that's it for today. Until then, this is Dan the Movie Man, signing off.